What's going on today?
Hey Scott, how's it going?
Good.
Jamie, how are you, buddy?
Andy, Scott, greetings. Happy Thursday.
Yes, happy Thursday to you too, and happy Thursday to everybody that's out there. We've been having a great crowd this week, and that's really encouraging. It's not surprising. We did have an incredible turnout for the test drive, and a lot of people are jumping on the Trade Ideas train, and so we love to see that, and we love to help you guys, get onboarded, I should say, and give you the support and education that you need to use this powerful program. But before we do that, and before we get into all the fun stuff, let's go over our disclaimer here for the attorneys. Guys, we are doing this for educational purposes only, and although you'll hear some ideas, this is not to be construed, as investment advice. If that is what you are seeking, you need to find somebody who is licensed, like a stockbroker, an RIA, somebody that hangs that on their wall. Actually, Jamie and I did it one time, but we gave it up for all the fun stuff. Ain't that right, Jamie?
Back in the what we call the olden days.
Olden days.
We held just about every license that there was back then. Of course, they've all changed in the interim, but
Yep.
yeah, that's one game you can play. But as Andy said, we prefer the fun stuff.
That's right. That's right. All right, guys, you heard me briefly at the beginning there talking about how we enjoy, giving you the support, education, and training that you need, and we give it to you. Unlike, I think, any other software company out there, it's just amazing the support you get here. We have 4, webinars a week in the same time slot. That's 5 o'clock Eastern time. Like I said, I always say it's always a combination, usually of myself, Jamie, and Steve Gomez, kind of juggling around. Every now and then Sean will come in and help out. Then the special treat on Wednesday is our CEO, Dan Merkin, with Brad Williams riding sidekick with him. It's a great place to go and find out new little bells and whistles that are coming down the pipeline. And also a great Q&A session. So that's but that's just a start of it, It all we have the traders room with Barry Arneson in there, and he's been at it now for a couple of years, I think, and wow, what a great tournament. We're having 600, sometimes close to 700 people in there now, and it's a free trading room, and it's free to everyone, not just subscribers. And like Steve was saying the other day, yeah, I think it makes a lot of paid subscription sites pretty angry to know you can get this kind of quality trading room for free. We offer it here at Trade Ideas, and it's not just a place to come and see the software. There's great traders in there. Barry, you can look over his shoulder while he calls out his trades and navigates the market. So, and then to top it all off, guys, on Friday, we have a 3-hour support session. Starts at 11 a.m. Eastern time. It's myself, Jamie, and Steve in there, and it's come one, come all. Once again, you do not have to be a subscriber. Come in there, and if you want to learn more about the product. It's a Q&A session, so a great place if you, over the weekend, like a lot of people did, or last week, you bought the Trade Ideas. This is a great place to come and get an extra few hours of any of your question answered. So, and to learn a lot more. And we do have our one-on-one training that's available to any subscriber. So this is 1 hour spent with myself, Jamie, or Steve, and Sean is also helping out with this and doing a great job. It's free with a paid subscription, whether it's a standard or a premium. All right, so don't forget about that. Let's move on to the fun stuff now. One last thing before we do. It's still in beta. This could be coming out soon, guys. If you want to know more about how to automate your trades, okay, and hook them up to our module, which will auto trade them on Interactive Brokers, please go to trade-ideas.com/beta, and you can get a lot more information on that. If you're new to Trade Ideas, and especially if you're new to trading, you might not want to venture into this area quite yet. Okay, this is for more experienced traders. Let's take a look at what's on the docket today. We got the market recap. Look, like I put a little dash there and was going to elaborate and never got around to it. But basically what I was going to elaborate on is, okay, is this the start of something, or is it just a pause? Very, very, brief pullback like we've seen over the past several years, and then a move higher. Time will tell. But we'll go over the market, and there's some interesting developments I think we can point out what to keep an eye out for. Holly recap. It's been a messy market the last 3 days, a lot of back and forth action. So a few nuggets in Holly today. We'll go over that. I am going to talk about basically A windows, and the problem a lot of people have with real-time history and how don't repeat can affect what you're seeing in history. I've fielded several questions this week about this, and so I said, I'm going to talk about it, and it can really cause a problem if you don't realize kind of what's going on here with the history in real time and don't repeat. So we're going to go over that. Alpha Predator Pro pullback alert. I went over this last week and showed you how you can create another alert window and how you can drop all the symbols that are coming through your Alpha Predator top list into that alert window and look for 25% pullbacks. Well, I've got a new little thing. Somebody wrote me over the weekend and asked me, Andy, why couldn't you just take that Alpha Predator Pro alert and make a convert it into an alert window without having to copy and paste every morning new symbols into the alert window that you built. And we're going to create this. We are going to create exactly what he was looking for, and I'm going to show you how it can differ from what you're doing when you do it, as I showed you last week. And then if we have time, guys, we can do a few chart requests. And I know a lot of people are still fresh from the test drive. They just recently signed up. Guys, if you do have any questions, just drop them in that. If you want them, directly answered to us, from us verbally, you might want to hold off a little bit closer to the end. John, I see Jamie's doing a good job fielding a lot of them in there. But occasionally I'll get a look over there when I have time. All right, yeah, we'll cover a lot of those issues, and Jamie will be sure to just yes, Waleed, he's in here. Yes, he's the one that asked that question. So yes, Waleed, you gave me that idea, and I'm going to show you how to do it. All right, so let's move on. Let's back out of this and let's talk about the market a little bit. All right, so we always start kind of on the daily, and we look at the SPY. And I'm going to focus on mostly it today. So what you're seeing here is a daily chart going back about 7 or 8 months of the spiders. You can see this incredible move. We've had, going, geez, and it actually doesn't start here. I could go back another year and you would still see this somewhat incredible move, but it's really been exaggerated, let's say, over the last 5 or 6 months. And it's so strong. You can see the 10-period moving average is my green line here, okay? This is the 10-day moving average. And for the most part, over the last, 4 or 5 months, we have been pretty much over that. We dipped below it a couple of times, but then right back up. And then look here how we just kind of stayed above this 10-day moving average. One day we fell below it, and then right back up again. And then, boy, we couldn't, for almost a month there, we couldn't even get close to it. It's more of a 5-day moving average it was writing. Well, now what's happening here, okay, we did have, kind of a gap and go to the downside, dropping below that 10-day moving average and held below it, could not get back above it yesterday. And then today we're seeing it again. I thought the action was interesting today because the spiders, you can see, ran up here, boom, kind of knocked about 3 or 4 times on this 10-period moving average on the daily, and it couldn't get through. This is why I always have one eye on the daily, and it's because if you're sitting there playing the market and you're not looking at the daily and see what you're running into here, That's kind of a shooting star. We couldn't not a bullish candle at all right there. So what I want to see, because a lot of people are asking, all right, are we just going to pull back just slightly here on the averages and go sideways a little bit and then head back up like we've been doing in a lot of places, or is this going to be a deeper pullback, maybe to the 50-day moving average, which we haven't seen in a while? Just go back here and we'll take a look. Okay, looks like we have to go all the way back to the 1st of September, late October. That's a long time above the 50-day moving average. What I would look for, okay, is if we do kind of continue in this downward and you start getting these averages to slope over. Right now you have a nice fanning pattern, okay, very bullish, very momentum bullish pattern. But if you get this 10 to start rolling over, and then some point crosses over the 20 and you're still below that area, we may be looking at a deeper pullback, down to the 50, period moving average or something, or who knows, could it be the beginning of a bear market? Time will tell. I'm definitely not going to call that, that's for sure. But when you see, and Jamie will vouch for this because we've been seeing watching markets for 20 years, and when you get this overextended, it's like that rubber band that you keep stretching and stretching and stretching where you can't stretch it anymore, and then when you let go, it's going to have a pretty big snapback. Very similar to the price action you might see. I'm not calling that at all, but I wouldn't be surprised, if we do. Wouldn't shock me at all to see a big sell-off. But nonetheless, take a look at the Qs real quick. Kind of the same pattern there, although yesterday we were above the 10 period. Today closes below. Now, we did have Amazon earnings after the bell today. Obviously, they have a big influence on the Qs, heavily weighted on the Qs, and you can see they're trading up in after hours, so we'll see what kind of impact that has on it. But we'll just have to wait and see what's going to happen there. IWM not looking all that healthy, although a nice little bot, but you can see it's pulled back more, and now it's even below its 20-day moving average. So IWM not as healthy as the other ones. And the diamonds, which I haven't even looked in today, and that's similar to the spiders, below its 10 period. Try to get through it today and pull back. So that's the kind of what I would ask myself, are we going to continue to see this fanning pattern, or are these lines going to start looking like they want to intersect and maybe even roll over? Time will tell. Jamie, that's about all I have on the markets today. Did you want to add something?
No, pretty much the charts tell the story. You look at that run up in the SPY, and that's great and all, but there has to be a little capitulation. And whether we're going to go sideways or whether we're going to give it up in price remains to be seen. But all we know is there's something different in store compared to what's been going on the past couple of weeks.
Yep, absolutely. So the way me and Jamie usually work is I handle it for the most part, but he is great about going over our AI Holly, and he was going to take over control right now. And maybe it's a tough job for him today because the market, like I said, it makes it tough on the Holly as well. But there's a couple of nuggets in here I think he could probably go over real quick.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Let me find my place here and grab the baton, and we'll see what's happening here.
All righty. Well, I got Mona.
Yeah. Mona. Okay, and I have adjusted my resolution, so everybody should be able to see my screen, including Mike. Let us know.
Fine.
But I think you'll be fine. Okay, so interesting take on, as we were discussing earlier, Andy, before the webinar, man, makes for a tough tape, right? Tough trading today because we had vacillations, getting tugs from both sides of the fence. Hey, everything's good. Oh no, we're coming all the way back down. So anytime we have market action like this, some people might say it's good, some people might say it's bad. There's always good and bad in every market. But Holly today, what kind of got my curiosity up last night is after all the analysis was done pretty late, I saw that she was done. And anytime I see only this many strategies lined up in the queue for the next day, it kind of gives me a little, well, once again, this is something that recently I've added to the hopper of things that help me temper my expectations for what the day might yield. Now, of course, we've got what's going on here and the backing off and the little dance that we're doing here on the SPY. So that's the first and most obvious thing. But when we see the AI who's working with a core strategy of 40 to 45 strategies, and after all the analysis is done, only 5 out of 45 make the cut, well, that's also telling us something. So when I saw this small strategy complement, I'm thinking to myself, pardon me, well, tomorrow's going to be interesting to say the least, and I better mind my P's and Q's, keep my powder dry, all those other little analogies that you can think of. But the bottom line is you better be on your toes, and you better not be swinging for the fence on every trade. I mean, it's never a good idea to do that, period. But today was definitely a day where there were a lot of things working, but there were a lot of things not working as well. So having said that, when we look at the trade count today, not too active, 8 trades total, 4, 3, and 1. So we've got bullish trend change, slightly underperforming on the lion's share of the trades today. Only 4 trades there, slight underperformance compared to expectations coming into the session. Now this little guy, at one point, I can't remember if it was this one that was winning about 66% of the time, but by the time the trade closed out, this one had dropped to underperforming levels as well. And of course, we're seeing 100% here, simply because there was 1 trade and 1 winner coming out of there today. So only 5 strategies, 4 longs, 1 short, 8 trades total. And of course, the interesting thing today, not too exciting on risk off. We did have a little spike up here, and then risk on, boy, it really took off during the day and got almost up to 3 points. And I'm like, wow. But then whoosh, right back down again, which seeing that happen on a day like today, completely in the realm of possibility, right? If you didn't take those cookies while the plate was being passed around, came back around the next time, just a few crumbs, right? So when we take a peek at the individual trades here, another peek into the possible futures, Holly didn't get active with her first trade until about 23 minutes into the market. Never really, we could say that this was a directional bias, and it was for a little while, right? Till we got up here and then decided to come down. So just a lot of 50-50 on every front. Now, the interesting thing about Holly today was, even though the overall results aren't that phenomenal, and we did have the nice spike up to almost $3 on risk on, where was most of that coming from? And today's a great example of showing some charts and some plays that Holly was in, and going over risk off versus risk on, and looking at GDS first, right? I was sitting right here with everybody else when this signal came out, and I thought to myself, okay, well, it's extended quite a bit of energy here, so let's just see what happens, right? Maybe jump in with a small feeler position, and that's different for every person. Could be 10 shares, could be 100 shares, depending on your account size, but you just get a little skin in the game, get a little watch, or you just watch Holly's P&L. And so Holly makes the entry right here, and then what do? We immediately back off. So not too long after Holly made the entry, we're seeing a negative P&L. But we can see here, never did stop us out. Came pretty close, but never did hit its stop. And that's what I'd like to reiterate here. That's what stops are for. If we feel compelled to make the bet, we've got to commit. We've got to stick to that hard stop. Now, we have given Holly the ability to get out of a trade that's not working prematurely, and sometimes that's very beneficial. But here's the kicker. Holly can't read charts like you and I, right? That's not what she's designed to do. She's designed to bring the statistical probability to the game, and she does that, and she does that well. Now, when we're in a trade, or let's say we've seen Holly make an entry here, And then over the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes, we see this occurring. All right. More importantly, we see Holly exiting the trade in risk off mode. And once again, I'd like to point everybody to this shaded area right here. That is Holly's time in risk off mode. She enters here, she gets a little fidgety. The longer she's in the trade and it's not in a profitable position, the more likely it is that she's going to exercise her ability to reduce risk. And sometimes these trades go on down and punch the stop loss, but other times like this, and you regular attendees have heard us say this over and over if you're new, the best way to interact is man and machine. We can read charts better than Holly when it comes to deciding, is this a timely exit? So you, me, and everybody else, Andy, in the know, when we get this sideways movement, that's actually a good thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we see Holly getting out and we're like, well, the trade's not going yet, but this is a good sign. Buyers and sellers are temporarily equal. We've seen a nice run up. The buyer tipped his hand right on the open. Now Holly's telling us statistical probabilities on our side. So whether we got into the trade with her here and just stuck to our stop loss, we did well. If we got into a little bit right here and saw Holly getting out, we could do a little bit of both. And this is really good for new people trying to get used to engaging Holly in both risk off and risk on. So we got into 200 right here. It's not working. If we feel compelled to do so, we can take half off the table with risk off, stay in for the second lot, set our break-even price to break even once the trade starts moving in our direction. But the bottom line is this trade worked. Holly got a little skittish, but if we stuck to our stop loss here, it was a profitable trade and even presented yet one more time to add to a winning position, which is one of the harder things for new traders to get in the hang of. Common tendency is to cut your winners too quickly and let your winners go a little bit crazy, all right? And that's something that everybody goes through when they're first getting their feet wet trading the U.S. equity markets or any other markets for that matter. Doesn't really matter if it's here, there, futures, commodities, cyber currencies. The precepts are all the same. So, once we see this nice sideways action, that's always a good sign. So trying to capture a little bit of the spread between risk off and risk on is the name of the game, and there's quite a big spread there, over a point between negative 28 cents and 84 cents there. All right, before we go on to the next one, let me just check the questions panel here.
Yeah, I got them, Jamie. I think we're okay.
Okay, good deal. So 3 different examples of risk on or risk off really not performing and not really doing anything. I mean, we could say, small loser, small winner, kind of a wash here. But mTOR, another interesting thing here that was going on with Holly. We get the signal right here, get a little bit in the money, then we go down, we ebb and we flow. And what you're going to notice if we just flip back to GDS, a lot of the times they'll blast right through the entry point, but a lot of the times they'll just peck at it, or they'll pass back and forth through it several times. And the point to make here is that the stat probability that is laid out in these trades, it is good for the entire day. Of course, everything's about timing. Sometimes they go immediately, sometimes they hug the line multiple times before they get more traction. And today with the mTOR is another good example. Another interesting observation here. And by the way, what I'm doing here is something that I'm encouraging everybody to do moving forward. And let me expound on that a little bit. Holly gives us these nice intraday signals with statistical probability. But what she's also doing is creating a watch list for us so that at the end of the day, we can look at all these plays and check out the long-term daily chart to see if anything interesting pops up. Now, I think it was back on Monday, we talked about not mTOR, but mZOR, right? And when I click on the daily, boom, we can see that Holly called mZOR for a nice intraday entry. Well, at the end of the day, when I was scanning, I'm thinking to myself, well, let me make sure I'm looking at the whole thing here, and what you're seeing is the entire chart for MZOR. And what do we notice that's going on up here? Well, if it gets up here and it cracks this plane, things could get very interesting. Set the price alert. And of course, what happened yesterday? Got the price alert, MZOR was breaking above that level. Nice, profitable trade with follow through today. Now, once again, Holly's not designed to set up, to show us swing setups, but by analyzing the dailies, we can pretty much go through here and can quickly cherry pick all the ones that look interesting. Maybe there's one, maybe there's two, maybe there's none. But by scanning the Holly plays at the end of every day and looking for those nice daily setups, you can be rewarded. So now what do we have going on here? As this one unfolded, what was happening here? Now this was happening on the day of, but it could have just as easily been like MZOR, which would have been down here setting the price alert. But the nice thing about it is once we get the signal from Holly, we get positive. Of course, it did throw us a little curveball, but nowhere near our stop loss. And then we get some continuation and also the added benefit of mTOR being out of its box or not really having anything for it to potentially bump its head on. Now, of course, this is no guarantee that it's going to keep going and going and going, but it's a very good attribute to have from a long signal. And of course, some stocks have went on 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 day runs and more. But this is a great setup to be in, especially if you're a swing trader and you decided to accept a little bit more risk and take it home. And
great job, Jamie.
Last little guy here was ATI, just kind of more of the same. Holly calls it about right here, and this isn't the prettiest little range break, but it still is one. And you know, a training session I had earlier today, your client was asking me to explain some Holly stuff to him, and you know, we hadn't talked about this before, but he's like, you know, is there any way to tell if, you know, maybe a trade is like a 1-star trade or a 2-star trade? And I'm like, I've heard this before, right? I'm like, well, I'm glad you brought that up, because even though this isn't the prettiest range break, it is a range break nonetheless. So we see Holly bringing up the signal, ATI from bullish trend change. We know coming into the session, 61.3% chance of it working right off the bat. That's star number one. Hey, I also notice as Holly's calling it out, the range break just occurred. Okay, well, I can say that's gold star number 2. Now, at this point in time, and ATI really wasn't cranking a whole lot of volume overall today, but a lot of the times you'll notice these two factors. Holly's got nice statistical probability behind her. I'm also a big fan of the pattern that's emerging. Oh, and I just happened to look down and see that relative volume is kicking 2, 3, 4 times. And maybe also I look down and see 5-minute volume is really off the hook and 1-minute volume is off the hook. So if that is the case, which it was not on ATI, but I've seen them plenty of times where it is, then you've got like 3 gold stars. You got statistical probability, nice pattern emerging, and crazy volume to support that extended move. And of course, these all come from experience and having chair time with Holly, but they're relatively simple. You know, it's not complex math or, you know, trying to draw a million things on a chart. It's just very basic stuff that if you combine them all at the right moment, you can get some really good results. And of course, Holly, this one did go pretty much into profitability, comes back and passes through the line a couple more times before finally getting that next push. And what do we have right here? A repetition of the pattern, and yet one more opportunity to tack on a little bit more, which once again, it's a hard thing to get. This is one of the harder things to get in the habit of. But when these stocks set up in this capacity, that's your second chance for an entry to add to a winning position. And then, of course, not seeing really anything special on the daily here.
Hey Jamie, why you have so many those horizontal lines? A guy asked how to get rid of them. Can you show Kirk how to remove one of those lines there?
Yeah, first off, you can move them around, right? Or you can completely get rid of them by clicking on it. I hit the delete key on my keyboard, and there you go. You get rid of your lines.
Yeah,
And
you got to make sure you're lined up where you get those little 4 arrows on there,
Mhm.
and once you see those little crisscross arrows, then you can. He's going to show you how to draw one again, and
Yeah, and
then
notice when I draw it here, well, a lot of the times we see it mimicked over there.
it
Or
does. It takes a few seconds. There it is.
yeah, there you go. So we can see I just cordoned off the range that was present before this break, and of course it happens to coincide with what you're seeing right here. Yep. You know, you can get a lot of value from some horizontal lines. They're underrated.
Yep.
All right.
It just lines up. Very good, Jamie.
Any other things that you wanted to point out?
No. I thought you covered that really well. It's been a tough market, the last 3 days, and it's been shown so in Holly by the number of strategies that's making the cut, and then of course by the number of trades. She averages probably a dozen to 15 a day, but the last 3 days, it's been very low.
Yeah, you know what? And of course, I just thought of this as well, but it's kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum. When all of a sudden she shows up with 12 or 14 strategies, you're kind of like, oh, okay. So a lot way
Exactly.
at the top of the, and typically I think that's the most I've ever seen her. It could have been 15, 14, but that's definitely the top. And then the lower extreme is 3, I think, 2 or 3. So these some interesting correlations moving forward. Well, when we're kind of in the middle, is that any correlation? Or is that just random? And I don't really know, but since we're on the topic, it is a bit interesting.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Andy, if you're ready,
Right.
I'll throw it back
Yep.
over to you, and we can progress here.
Sure.
Give me a second.
Absolutely. And somebody has asked. He's new, and he wanted to share a layout. And yes, I don't have any problem doing that at all. I'm going to wait and do that toward the end here because I have a couple of windows open that are not normally open that I want to get rid of before I share it with you. But the next topic, and I really think it's important to cover this because it confuses a lot of people. And what I want to show you is when you're using an A window, okay? This is an A window, okay? And we have a what's called a don't repeat option in here. And you can see this A window, it has it checked. Okay, so you're saying, what does that mean? Well, if you click in here, you can ask or demand this alert window to not repeat any alerts for any time frame that we offer here. Okay, in this case, I have it for 1 minute. So what that means is if a stock is really just ripping through your alerts, sometimes how you, like this USG right here on my extreme volume, how it just keeps ripping every second. You see it on here and you're like, man, I want to filter some of that noise out. It's too much. Well, you can do it by going to, once again, let me show you. You can go to Properties, Don't Repeat, and then you can choose it not to repeat for 1 minute. Now, where that causes an issue and is when you go back and look at history, and this is what people have, and they hit me with these questions all the time. They'll say, Andy, I'm missing some alerts in my window because if I duplicate my window and I run a history, I'm duplicating this one right now, and if I run a history on it, and I'm gonna go to history and put it on today, I'm seeing a lot more than I'm seeing on my screen. And the reason that is, guys and gals, is because when you run a history, it's going to show you every alert. In other words, the don't repeat functionality is kind of does not work in the history. It's going to show you in history every alert that came through, and once again, it's going to repeat every one of them. So that's why a lot of times you're going to pull this up and you're going to see that. More when you run a history, if you see more, the first thing you want to do is go and check to make sure to see if you have your don't repeat on. Okay, one other thing when it comes to real time in history. This is another issue, because what people will do, they may go over to a channel and then come back to the default layout. When you do that, what's going to happen, anytime you leave a window and go to history and then go back to real time, it resets. So if you go back to real time, you're only going to see the most recent alert. And what people will do sometimes is they may leave their default layout or close out of their window and reopen it. For whatever reason, they come back and it resets. And maybe the last few hours of the day, you notice like, wait a minute, what about all these? When I run a history, where are all these? Just keep in mind that anytime you leave and come back to an A window, whether you leave the layout or whether you go and you look at history and then you come back, it's going to reset. Okay, so if you do not want to lose any data, I would just recommend not going to your history if that bothers you, and just let it stream all day, kind of like I did this one right here. I haven't moved all day. I'm not in history right now. This is just, I haven't touched it. Okay, if I went to history and came back, the only thing it's going to show me is CME. Okay, so I know that has been an issue with some people, and I just want to, once again, if you're not, seeing what you think you should be seeing, first check your don't repeat, and then just remember, anytime you leave and come back, it's going to reset. All right, so let me close that out. That is important for everybody to know. And last week, what I did, in case you missed it, I'm going to give you a quick summary. I have several traders who use this strategy and use it very successfully. And what they do is they like to look at this Alpha Predator Pro or Alpha Predator. It can pretty much work with any top list. I'm using the Alpha Predator Pro as an example. And the way this started, they'd come to me, it's like, Andy, I see some great looking charts in here, but man, I don't want to chase them, I don't want to chase them when they come to the Alpha Predator, and I want to find pullbacks. So I showed them how you can create a simple 25% pullback. I've been working on so much stuff now, I can't remember. Well, I don't want to get too much in this because I have too much to show you on what I'm going to do this week. But basically what I did, guys, I just created a new alert window from scratch, and I created a 25% pullback from the close and a 25% pullback from the open. And I clicked OK and OK. And then what I did is showed them how you can migrate symbols from this to your symbol list that you want to follow on your alert window. So in other words, I only want to see stocks coming through this that are coming through the Alpha Predator. And I showed them how you can copy, or just click, left click, copy as many alerts as you want, send to symbol list, 25% pullback on the Alpha Predator. Okay, so that would send it to my 25% pullback alert. So now I'm only seeing stocks that pull back 25% on this alert window. So one of our subscribers here, very nice gentleman by the name of Waleed, sent me an email a few days ago and said, Andy, why can't we just create a 25% pullback using the Alpha Alert Window Pro and all its filters? And I told him, you can do that, and I've tried to do something like this, but you're going to get different results. And the reason is some of the filters may conflict with a 25% pullback from highs. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. And this is also going to give a lesson in how to turn a top list into an alert window. Okay. So to do that, what we want to do is we want to turn a T window into an A window. First thing you want to do is right click and collaborate, and you're copying this code here. So you just click copy all. So now you have this code in here with all of its settings. So now we're going to go to new, and we're going to go to an A window, and you can just click OK because you're going to change everything in it anyway. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to right click in the A window, and we're going to go to collaborate. And now we're going to paste all. Remember, we have it copied now. We're going to paste it into this window. So now we have basically turned this T window into an A window, but only thing it's giving us for, remember, an A window has to have what's called an event, an alert, okay? So when you're collaborating a T into an A, all you're getting right now is a heartbeat. And what is a heartbeat? A heartbeat basically just goes out and pings and makes sure all of these settings are being satisfied. We used to use a heartbeat a lot, but then when we created top lists, they kind of became somewhat antiquated. So we really don't have a true event here, right? This is just something that's going out and pinging these filters. So we need to turn this into an event so we can backtest it, or so we can create a true alert window. And of course, in this case, we are looking for, probably should already have it in my settings here. Yeah, we're going to use 25% pullback from open, and then we're going to turn it off the heartbeat. So now we have created an event of a 25% pullback, but remember, it has to satisfy all the filters in the Alpha Predator Pro. Now, what you want to do is, and just remember, every time you're playing around with this stuff, you just kind of think mentally what you're looking for. Okay, so right now, okay, the stock has to be pulling back 25% on the intraday. The first thing I want to do is go in and see if there were any filters that conflict with the 25% pullback. So in other words, if you had a position and range filter on a 60-minute chart at a minimum of 99%, okay, boom, that's a red flag to me. That's going to be very hard to do when you have a 25% pullback. All right, so what we're going to do here is pop open the filters, and we're going to make sure none of these filters conflict with the 25% pullback. Position and range 70%, that shouldn't conflict. I mean, obviously you're 30% off highs for the day, so that's okay. Price, obviously that's not going to make any difference. Change from the close up 0.2%. We're okay there. Change in 5 minutes. Whoa, wait a minute. This may be tough. Okay, because I'm asking for a 25% pullback from highs, but in the last 5 minutes, the stock has to be up 0.2%. Now, that is obviously possible, but just my common sense and looking at a chart, that's just telling me that, hey, this is going to be a quick pullback because it's still up in the 5 minute time frame, which means it probably ran a lot and then came back real quick. So this is something I'd probably get rid of, because you're basically chasing a candle that just comes back real quick. You know, it's logic tells me this conflicts with my 25% pullback, so I'm going to take that one out. We're going to delete that one. Volume today, 300,000. Now remember, this is a very liquid. I use it for swing trading, so I'm looking for stocks that do 500,000 shares a day. So this is kind of a liquid one. You can try this with the Alpha Predator. And not use the Alpha Predator Pro version that looks for liquid stocks. So, but nothing here, change in 5 days, that's obviously not going to be a conflict. So now we have pretty much just only had to take out the change from 5 minutes. And click OK. And click OK. And let's just change the name in here to Alpha Predator Pro Alert, since we're making it alert now. And actually, let's call it a pullback alert. Okay, so what we've done here is now we have a Alpha Predator pullback alert with pretty much all the filters that were in there. Remember, all we had to change is that one over a 5 minute period, which should not be a big issue. And let's just go back and see what kind of stocks we had coming through here today. Well, we had kind of quite a few. Now I do have ETFs in this one. You can use our little handy dandy formula if you want to eliminate ETFs. And another thing I'd be careful with when you're using these pullback alerts is maybe don't start even watching this, let's add some columns. So that's one thing when you're collaborating and you're changing a T window into an A window, what you want to do is you're going to get some columns missing that you want to add. So let's go in here. Let's go to our columns. We want to add type, so we know it's a 25% pullback. Time is important. And it's price. All right, price is in there. That's right. So, okay. So now we have the type. You can just easily move our columns to where you want them. So now we have a pretty decent looking alert here. But honestly, what I would do with something like this is I would go in here and configure and not even look at this. We have a time function in here that will keep you off the buttons by going to time, minutes after the open. We're going to add filter, and we're going to put in here, let's do 20 minutes. 20 minutes after the open. So that way you want to give stocks to have a chance to move, so you're not catching some 1 minute drive and then pulling back 25%. Let them breathe for a little while and move up in the first 20 minutes. So now let's go and look at today. And Jamie, if you see a question, just don't hesitate to interrupt me.
Yeah, one thing I would say is you were using change in 5 minute, correct? Was that one of the filters? Or
that was one. Yeah.
So Suresh was asking, is the change 5 minute? I think that's what he was asking. Imply any 5 minute or current 5 minute time, and that family of filters always looks at the last candle that closed, right? Regardless of time frame. Just to clarify.
Okay. Yeah. Correct. And the reason I think it's important to remove something like that, if you just think about a stock that has maybe moved up for 30 minutes, and all of a sudden you can start getting a decent, pullback, and it pulls back 25%. But if it goes in there and sees that it's no longer up at least 0.2% in the 5 minute, even the one prior to that, you're not going to get that alert anymore. So that's why I just want to remove anything that might conflict with a good pullback on the stock. So let's take a look and just see. I haven't done this, but here's the stocks today. And let me take it off after hours. I'll get that out of there. So we get a nice. So that one, he did move up, pulled back, and kind of got sloppy. Of course, keep in mind, guys, it's a sloppy market. Now there's a pretty good one. You had a stock that ran up for the first 5 minutes, 20 minutes, and you had a pullback right here at $70, and whoa, look at that move. That one really didn't. It's pretty sloppy there. And you had a little move higher there. BX. Once again, keep your mind. I don't think it's fair to use today's market action to judge any one particular alert window that you might build. Let it play out over some time. Give it a look. This one eventually worked after you sit through a little bit of a. Ooh, that's a pretty one right there. You had your initial move this morning, pulled back, and gave you an alert at 38, and then some nice movement after that. Yeah, pretty sloppy. Just like a lot of them are going to be kind of sloppy. Just looking at today's action in the marketplace. See if I can find a reasonable name here. eBay. That one kind of worked for a while. So this is pretty much the same as the Alpha Predator Pro. Remember, all the filters, have to be met, because the only one except for that change in the 5 minute period. So this will work. Now, Waleed, whether this is going to work as good as the one we built, I don't know. I really don't have time today to go in and test both, see which one works the best, but it's something that you guys can do, and I will definitely share this. Let me put it back on real time. So if anybody wants this, we'll just call it the pullback. I've already named it. So what I'm going to do is just save it and share it. And the way I do that, you right click, you find the little cloud, Save or share to cloud, and since I am going to share it, I have to hit save and share, and then I copy it all. This is going to copy the code for you, and then I'm going to drop it into our chat window. So on your GoTo webinar interface, you're going to find a little chat area, and I'm just going to put AP PB alert, and I'm going to drop the code in right behind it. And then I'm going to show you guys what to do and how to load that, because I know we still have a lot of new people in here. And for those who are in here for the first time, it's great for you to watch how intuitive our software is. So what people can do is just click on the alert that I dropped into the chat window. Okay, it's going to pull up a little document page, a little load from cloud. It's going to have your, not document page, but a code page with the code in it. The easiest way to do it is just copy the URL. So we're going to copy that, minimize the window. Then we're going to go to File, Load from Cloud. You don't need a paste. Okay, it does copy it from your clipboard. All you have to do is hit load, and there you have a copy of the Alpha Predator Pro alert. It's not in chat.
Yeah,
guys,
I just looked up when I saw that. I see the name, but not the cloud link.
Oh, really? I see it in there. As a matter of fact, I just copied it from that. You see the little arrow keys? You should have a little arrow key. Same here. Oh, well, let me try that again.
Dump it in there one more time.
Yeah. Wow, now it's not letting me in the chat anymore.
You want to slack it over to me, and I can drop it in from over here?
Yeah, see if you can do it, Jamie. Let's see if it's still. It's kind of crazy. It's not letting me in the chat area anymore. Ah, there it goes. I just got it. Never mind.
You got it? Okay, good deal.
Big dummy head over here, never hit enter. Dropped it in there and didn't hit enter.
Keys.
All right, guys. So yeah, now let me also, because I believe it was Guy, ask if he could have my layout, and I will do that. Now, remember, I do have let's see, I do have a couple of other alerts on my other monitor. Okay, so if you're only using one monitor, you might get more alerts than what you're seeing, and all you have to do is minimize or close them out. I'll just show you real quick what I have on my other monitor. It's not a lot. I got Jamie's turbo brakes up and turbo brakes down. All right. Now, when you get all this, you will have access to these alerts. So what you might want to do is save them to the cloud. I have just a spider static chart so I can keep an eye on the market. And then I have the big cap compare count movers. So you may get them, like I said, if you have two monitors, they may pop up on your other monitor. Otherwise, they're all going to be, if you're just using one monitor, they're all going to be in the same area. You'll have to minimize and find the layout. And he had a question about the Holly. So what I've done with Holly, I've combined all my trades into one window. Okay, I know if you go to the AI channel, you're going to see AI strategies up here, and then you're going to have a closed window and you're going to have an open window. But if you want to save some screen real estate, what you can do is a little feature called View All Trades. And you just click on that, and what it's going to do is pull up all trades in one window for you. And what I like to do is then once I do that, I put the entry time to do the most recent on top. Okay, so that way, as these things kind of scroll to the bottom, most of them are already closed, and then I get the new ones coming up on top and flashing yellow for me. Okay, with that said, so what I'm going to do is show you how to save your entire layout. So what I'm going to do is go File, Save or Share to Cloud. Okay, and we have a little entire layout button here. I'm going to click this entire layout. It's going to pull up layout for me, and then I'm just going to put a date on it. It's always good to put a date, and that way you'll remember when you did this. So if you want to later on, maybe 2 or 3 months, if you made some changes, maybe you want to do this for yourself. Just share it to, not save it, but just, I mean, you can save it. I'm going to obviously save and share it, but it's always good to save your layout every now and then to the cloud. So if anything ever happens to your hard drive, you'll have a copy of it on our servers. Okay, so save and share. Unable to save this layout. It is too big. I've never seen that, Jamie, and I don't know why.
Okay, so it's saying too big?
Yeah, it may be this new developmental version. I have never seen that.
No, was that a cloud save or regular?
Save and share to cloud.
Okay, try one
Do I
more
need
time.
to wipe some stuff off my cloud probably, or?
Let's try one more time.
Okay.
Try saving it as a regular layout.
Gotta make sure I got everything I hadn't messed up here. Okay. That worked fine.
Okay, well,
I bet I have to.
Yeah.
I bet I have to. Maybe have some too much stuff in my cloud.
Yeah, you might have some pinned windows that are hiding. Who knows?
Yeah, I don't think. No, it's pretty clean, man. That's all I have.
And that doesn't look like too many. That doesn't look big. It could, maybe your cloud's getting too full.
That's what I'm saying. Let me do something right here. Let me just try. I don't want to go that far back. I can't highlight. Let me just go and try to find layouts.
Yeah, if that's really the problem, deleting a couple of them should free it up. And
yeah, let me just put just to make sure here.
If it still says file too big, because it's not saying your cloud's full, it's saying your file's too big.
I know.
It could be a bug.
Yeah, I bet you that's what it is. I just cut about 10 of them out of there. So let's see if that works. Yeah, it's a bug. Guys, what we're gonna have to do is, if you want it, some of you guys a lot of you already have your own layouts, and not only that, a lot of you guys have mine because I've shared it in the past. If you do want it, just send an email to info@trade-ideas.com, or better still, just send it to Andy@trade-ideas.com, and I will I'll get you a copy of that. Because probably what I'm going to have to do is maybe get an older version. I think it may be a bug in our new, because I just downloaded this last week. So that's going to be the easiest way, guys. Sorry about that. All right, time is up, guys. I was hoping to get around to some chart requests, but we've kind of ran out of time now with that little bug that we had. But I'll bring Scott in, and Scott, you want to come back in here and kind of walk us out, and hang on, guys, because Scott will have a discount code for you.
Sure, thank you. Yeah, first, before the other stuff about pricing, we have a podcast. It's our second season now, so it's second year, and about 50 episodes, and there'll be a new one out tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. Make sure that you're subscribed to the podcast. So go to whatever application you listen to podcasts in and search for Trade Ideas Podcast. Hit subscribe, and then you get the new ones. Also, check out last week's. We're waiting for the next one to come out. And they've been getting better and better. Good stuff. We have important news. Next month, we are raising our prices, so we're telling you all about it now. But the good news is everyone that's currently got a subscription, you stay at your current rate, that goes on, so that doesn't change. If you're already in the 2017 rates, you stay in that. There's no change at all. It's only new subscribers, so if you're thinking about becoming a subscriber, you're going to want to take advantage of the current 2017 rates so that you can lock those in and remain at that rate, because if you're in now at $18.88 a year, that's what it is ongoing in the future for as long as you're a subscriber. But if you're going to start after February 15th as a new subscriber, it's going to go up to $22.69 for the year. So 20% increase across the board, includes the monthly and annuals for premium and standard. So now that I've mentioned that, so you know that's coming, we do have a discount code that's good for this month, I Heart Holly. That's an I in the front, not an L. It's a capital I. I should have picked a font a little bit differently. I Heart Holly gives you 15% off the first month or year of trade ideas. And you can go ahead and use that on any of our subscriptions. So that's good for premium or standard, and we still offer a full hour of one-on-one training along with that. So go ahead and take advantage of all of this. Any questions, email us at info@trade-ideas.com. Any questions, or shoot Andy an email, andy@trade-ideas.com. Jamie is jhodge@trade-ideas.com. And find us on Twitter and Facebook and stuff. We'll have the recording up later on tonight, maybe tomorrow morning, but you'll get an email reminder tomorrow with a link to the playlist where this recording's located. Thanks, Andy and Jamie. I will go ahead and convert this and get it up.
All right. Thanks, Scott. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, have a good one.
Sounds good, guys.
Have a great weekend. We'll see you tomorrow.
We'll see you tomorrow for the 3-hour marathon.
Yeah, you all should be getting an email invite within the next hour or so. I forget the exact time it goes out, but it does go out this evening. See you tomorrow.
All right, bye-bye.